Hello everyone, today we are diving into a truly record-breaking chess game. A game where white sacrificed all 8 pawns on the board. That's right, all 8 pawns. This game was played between Dr. William Ballard and Joseph Fagan in 1884, and it has remained a stunning example of boldness in chess history. Let's get started with this incredible game. Dr. Ballard plays the white pieces, and Fagan plays the black pieces. Right from the beginning, you'll notice something unusual. Dr. Ballard gives Fagan a handicap by starting the game without one of his knights, making things more interesting. Ballard begins with pawn to e4, controlling the center and opening lines for his queen and bishop. Fagan answers with pawn to e5, mirroring the move and occupying the center as well. Ballard plays pawn to f4, immediately starting the king's gambit and offering a pawn for control of the center. Fagan accepts with pawn captures on f4, taking the pawn and setting the stage for an open game. Ballard develops his knight to f3, developing the knight and controlling key central squares while preparing to attack. Fagan develops his bishop to e7, preparing to castle and developing his kingside pieces. Ballard develops his bishop to c4, attacking Fagan's f7 pawn, a vulnerable point in black's camp. Fagan plays bishop to h4 check, forcing Dr. Ballard's king to move. Ballard responds with pawn to g3, blocking the check and attacking Fagan's bishop on h4. Fagan captures on g3 with the f-pawn, continuing to open up Dr. Ballard's kingside and creating immediate threats. Ballard castles kingside, bringing his king to safety and connecting his rooks. Fagan develops his knight to h6, preparing to support the pawn on g3 and create threats against white's exposed king position. Ballard strikes in the center with pawn to d4, challenging Fagan's control of the middle and opening lines for his pieces. Fagan castles kingside, securing his king and completing his development. Ballard captures the pawn on g3 with the h-pawn, opening up the h-file for his rook and continuing his kingside development. Fagan recaptures on g3 with bishop captures the pawn on g3, keeping the pressure on Dr. Ballard and maintaining an active piece position. Ballard moves his king to g2, stepping out of any potential attack and reinforcing his position. Fagan plays bishop to d6, repositioning the bishop to control key central squares and preparing to coordinate his pieces. Dr. Ballard plays rook to h1, activating his rook on the h-file and preparing to create threats. Fagan responds with queen to f6, centralizing the queen and putting pressure on Dr. Ballard's position while supporting his pieces. Ballard plays pawn to e5, advancing in the center and attacking Fagan's bishop and queen while gaining space. Fagan responds with queen to g6 check, forcing Dr. Ballard's king to move and maintaining the initiative. Ballard moves his king to f1, stepping out of the check and trying to maintain control of the position. Fagan repositions his knight to f5, centralizing the knight and preparing to support an attack on Dr. Ballard's exposed king. Dr. Ballard moves his rook to g1, attacking Fagan's queen and controlling the g-file, while trying to coordinate his pieces. Fagan responds with knight to g3 check, delivering a check and putting Dr. Ballard's king in a precarious position. Ballard moves his king to f2, escaping the check and trying to regroup his defenses. Fagan plays knight to e4 check, forcing Dr. Ballard's king to move again and maintaining relentless pressure. Ballard moves his king to e1, trying to escape the checks and defend his position. Fagan plays bishop to b4 check, keeping the pressure on Dr. Ballard's king and limiting his options. Ballard plays pawn to c3, attacking Fagan's bishop and trying to slow down the attack. Fagan captures the pawn on c3, with knight captures the pawn on c3, winning material and continuing to dominate the position. Ballard recaptures the knight on c3 with the b-pawn, trying to eliminate black's attacking pieces. Fagan captures the pawn on c3 with bishop captures the pawn on c3 check, forcing Dr. Ballard's king to move again and maintaining the attack. Dr. Ballard moves his king to f2, hoping to avoid further checks and maintain some defense. Fagan responds with queen to c6, continuing to press the attack and threatening Ballard's pieces while centralizing the queen. Dr. Ballard plays bishop to d3, developing the bishop and trying to add more protection to his position. Fagan captures the rook on a1, with bishop captures the rook on a1, winning significant material and continuing to dominate the game. Ballard pushes pawn to d5, advancing the pawn and gaining space while trying to create counterplay. Fagan responds with queen to b6 check, forcing Dr. Ballard's king to move again and maintaining the initiative. Ballard develops his bishop to e3, placing the bishop on an active square and trying to defend his position. Fagan plays queen to b2 check, continuing the checks and putting pressure on White's exposed king. Ballard moves his king to f1, stepping out of the check and trying to defend. Fagan pushes pawn to f5, advancing the pawn and strengthening his position while preparing further attacks. Ballard plays bishop to d4, centralizing the bishop and trying to control key squares. Fagan captures the pawn on a2, with queen captures the pawn on a2, winning another pawn and increasing her material advantage. Ballard captures the bishop on a1, with bishop captures the bishop on a1, winning back some material. Fagan captures the pawn on d5, with queen captures the pawn on d5, eliminating White's central pawn and maintaining a strong position. Ballard pushes pawn to e6, advancing deep into Black's territory and creating threats. Fagan responds with pawn to g6, defending and preparing to deal with White's advancing pawn. Ballard advances the pawn to e7, pushing it to the 7th rank and threatening to promote to a queen. Fagan blocks the pawn with rook to e8, preventing the immediate promotion and defending actively. Ballard develops his queen to e2, bringing the queen into play and coordinating his remaining pieces for a final attack. Fagan moves queen to c5, centralizing the queen and preparing to defend while keeping counterattacking options. Ballard moves queen to b2, repositioning the queen and preparing the final combination. Fagan captures the pawn on e7, with rook captures the pawn on e7, eliminating White's dangerous passed pawn. Ballard plays queen to h8 check, delivering a powerful check and forcing Black's king into the open. Fagan plays king to f7, the only legal move to escape the check, but walking into White's mating net. Ballard delivers checkmate with knight to g5, placing the knight on g5 and delivering checkmate to Fagan's king on f7. The king has no escape squares and cannot block or capture the attacking pieces. The game is over. What a game! Dr. William Ballard sacrificed all 8 pawns, breaking a record that has never been beaten. Even though Fagan had a material advantage throughout most of the game, Ballard's daring pawn sacrifices and brilliant tactical play led him to a checkmate victory. This game will forever be remembered as one of the boldest in chess history. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this game, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts on this historic match in the comments below.